In this video, we're going to be preparing my 1976 Hillman Imp for its probably about 30-40 mile journey over to the British Motor Museum on the 9th of March for the Rustival Festival. Now, if you don't know what Rustival is a new festival that's just been put on by three of the big YouTubers. That's Steph from iDriver Classic, Matt from Furious Driving, and Ian and Carly from Hubnut. Now, so far, I think I'm right in saying this, they've got over 600 exhibitor entries for it. Now, and two of those are this, Pelly, my 1976 Hillman Imp Basic, and outside, the 1998 Ford Mondeo. Now, the Mondeo just needs a bucket of water thrown at it and generally make it look like it isn't covered in bird poo and general road film. But Pelly here doesn't get used very much, and really she could do with an oil change because, well, reasons I'll show you in a minute. But also I think I do need to go through and just make sure that nothing is likely to fall off because, as I say, she doesn't get used much, and last time she was driven anywhere she did let us down a bit. So yeah, maybe it's time to just go through it and just make sure. Thing with an Imp compared to some of the other classic cars you might encounter is that things have to be 100% perfect on them for them to work. They're a little bit more temperamental, shall we say, than certain iron-engined cars, and yeah, other cars that just you can wave a key at them and off they go. An Imp needs to be 100% for it to work. And yeah, because she doesn't get used much, things tend to slide a bit. But there's another big reason why this particular car might need a little bit more of a hope to get her there. I'll explain. Now, this is Pelly's engine, which is 875 cc's of raw throbbing power. This particular engine actually did produce 42 brake horsepower on a rolling road session about 20 years ago over at Sandspeed in Bexley Heath of all places. Anyway, now this particular engine, not long after that rolling road session, met with a little bit of an accident. You see, on an Imp there is a bypass hose, that one there, yeah. It goes all the way around the back over there to, there's a explanatory finger to there, okay, and then the cooling system then goes off from there out to the front. Now, you see where it pokes around the back of the airbox at the back there? Well, there is quite a sharp edge on the back of the airbox, and unbeknown to me, that had been quite happily, merrily chafing through, and it had worn the outer rubber away, and then one day it started to leak. Now, on the day that it was doing that, my wife was late for work and she was using this as everyday car. Now, she was driving from Cranbrook in Kent over to Ticehurst, and as she was driving along quite merrily, unbeknown to her, all the coolant was falling out the back, and then all of a sudden it ran out of coolant, and then it started to get severely hot, and she was quite happily, merrily buzzing along. Unknown to her was that the fact that the temperature gauge was not working correctly, and it wasn't actually registering on the dashboard that it was off the end stop. The first that she knew about it was when it actually started slowing down because it was that hot, and yeah, too late. Anyway, the head gasket had gone, but more importantly, on an Imp, the actual parts themselves they're steel liners that are cast into the block at the factory, and on the very top of them there is a small layer of alley that holds them in place. Now that also is where the fire rings for the head gaskets sit. Now what can happen is if they get really hot, that alley along the top breaks up, the fire ring then no longer seals, and you have all manner of, well, it just will never work properly and it will never seal properly. And this is actually where you'll find an awful lot of old tales of woe when it comes to Hillman Imps being unreliable and head gasket failure and all the rest of it. A number of times I've bought cars off people that have had that problem, and then you whip the head off and then you look at the top of the liners and there's just no way it's going to seal ever again, and it's because it's got hot and the top of the liner has broken up. And once that's happened, really the only sensible option is to cut the liner out and convert it to 998cc. But now this particular engine, an old mechanic friend of mine suggested I tried JB Weld. Now we're talking on the top of the liner on this particular car, it was probably less than 2 millimeters of alley had vanished. So dutifully I plopped some JB Weld in it, and it actually has been running and it has been working quite well. Now it's not in the fire path, for want of a better word to describe it. It's not in the hottest part of the engine, it's not on the edge of the liner, but it's a little bit of a, no, it's not a little bit, it's a big bodge. And realistically, it's not going to last forever, because JB Weld can't last forever, because it is only a bit of resin at the end of the day. But it's supposed to be good for pretty spectacular temperatures. And at the moment, it should only be seeing somewhere in the region of about 90, 100 degrees maximum. So in theory, it should work. Theory. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to gamble it, because I've got no other options at the moment. I haven't got any other engines that work. The 998 that is here that I introduced last time round, it still needs quite a lot of work and it still needs running in, and yeah, don't fancy fitting that and then trying to get from Northamptonshire to Gaydon and then find it break down. So I'm going to give it a go. But the oil that's in it is of indeterminate origin. I can't remember if I changed it or not when I put the engine back in here, which would have been about 9 months ago. So, and I know that whatever happens, the oil filter down there doesn't look like it's been changed. So I've got a feeling the oil that's in it is a bit old and manky. So I'm going to do an oil and filter change on it. I'm going to give the points and what have you a bit of a squiz over, make sure that it's all okay. I know the carb is good because I've recently had that in bits because it was leaking fuel. Like I say, it's an Imp. Yeah, so I know that's good. All the ignition system, the leads are all fairly new. I think the plugs, they may look fairly old, but I don't think they've done much in the way of work. But we'll pull them out and give them a quick squiz over and see if they're okay. I'm pretty sure that that's a new cap. It does look it, doesn't it? And we'll give it a good check over, make sure the points gaps are correct. Yes, so plenty to do. And right, I think what we're going to do is we're going to start with an oil change. Gloves on. Time to find all the tools. And let's have a go at draining some oil out of the helmet. Where's that oil drain can gone? One-inch socket. I wonder how tight I did this up last time. Let's give it a go. Now let's see if I can do this without making a hideous mess. So that's now draining. Still draining. I think while that's draining, I'm going to go and find some oil. Now, this is no way sponsored by or endorsed by or any of the other things, but I'm actually going to be slinging some Fuzz Townsend's Classic Oils 20W50 into this. Now, oil filter. I know I've got one somewhere. Filter of oilness. Still draining. Now the thing here is, I wonder how tight I did this filter up. It has been on here a very, very, very long time. And I have a feeling I am going to be having a fight with this. So in terms of getting the old filter off, I don't particularly like spin-on oil filters. I've got to be really honest. I know loads of other people don't seem to have any problems with them whatsoever. I always seem to have problems getting the damn things to come back off again. Hence why I have got a selection of tools that I have purchased over time to try and deal with recalcitrant oil filters. Now this one looks like a medieval torture. It's probably worth a go first. What do you reckon? I've got to get it cracked off, as the actress said to the bishop. Nope. That ain't moving. Huzzah! And now you're coming off, aren't you? Yes, you are. Right, that is absolutely full of oil. Now, here comes the big debate. Do you part fill your oil filter before fitting? Question. Do you? Now, I tend to. I put a little bit in the bottom. I kind of feel like you shouldn't be putting it back in the engine. You know, putting an empty oil filter into an engine. It just feels wrong. Does that make sense? And but I know plenty of people that say to me, oh, no, just stick it in, it will fill itself and it'll be fine. But for that split second you're turning the car over with no oil in your oil filter. That doesn't seem right to me. Oh, here we go. Watch me pour oil all over my garage floor. Just putting a little bit into this now. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the seal first, because that is one thing you always must do. Right, I'm going to put a tiny... see, told you. Pour it all over the floor. Oh dear. Right. Now, the fun and games bit here. So I now need to tighten this up. And it's all covered in lovely slippery oil. Well done, Timbo. Weren't thinking about what you were doing, were you? No. Right, that's fairly effed up tight. oil filter is on. I think I nipped that up nice and tight, but I'll give it one more go. Then we can put Mr. Townsend's lovely oil into my car. Nope. That is, as they say, tight. Right. Now then, I'm going to pour this in without getting it everywhere. Okay. Here we go. Now, an Imp takes about 4.5 litres from memory. So then what we're going to do is I'll let that drain for a couple more minutes, and then we'll start her up, make sure that there isn't oil spraying out from anything that shouldn't be spraying out from, and then hopefully we can then button that one up and tick that one off on the list of things to do. Super! Let's go and see if we can get a tune out of this. I think that might be copyrighted by Andy Jones from Shrieky Tube TV. Not sure. Let's see. Come on, Pelly. You're on camera. I'm going to say that is job done. Next thing we're going to have to look at is the points and condenser. Now I know I changed them very, very recently, so this is literally just a quick squiz over, just to make sure that nothing untoward is going on in there. Okay, now I've got sat here one of those fabulous Draper rechargeable lamps, courtesy of Mr. Furious from Furious Driving. They are really worth the investment. They're absolutely superb. So, to get into your Dizzy, there's two little clips, one either side of the distributor, and then the distributor cap then just lifts off like that, and you just want to tuck it out of the way. So, that's actually sat at top dead center. Pull off your rotor arm. Good old distributor Doctor ones, they are nice and tight fitting. So, you then need to find yourself your 15 thou. No, you're not going to focus on that one, are you? No, there you go, 15 thou feeler gauge. What there is at the base of the distributor here, at the base of the distributor shaft, you've got flats. You've got a flat along one side, and then there's like a corner. What you want to do is you want to align this pointer part of the distributor to the central moment of that curve of it go round the corner, and that is actually where the point where the points are at their most open. Now it's at that point you stick your feeler gauge between, oh come on focus you useless thing, and there you go, 15 thou feeler gauge in there. Now adjusting it, if you do need to adjust it, it's fairly simple stuff. What you do is you'll find, I'm going to find a screwdriver so I can point. That screw there is what holds the points in place. So you slacken that off very, very slightly. You then use the same screwdriver to adjust the points here. Now can you see there's a pip down there? Come on, focus you camera. And then you can either close the points or open the points depending on how you go from there. So that's now adjusted the points. Simple, innit? Well, it is when you're not holding a damn camera. Well, there you have it. A couple of very, very simple jobs done on the Imp. It should now be good enough to go to Rustival on the 9th of March. if nothing else, let's go. Haha. If you're coming to Rustival, I really hope to see you there. Do come up and say hello. I don't bite, not unless you really want me to. And the whole point of Rustival is for it to be a social thing and to meet people and to meet new people. And I'd love to say hello. So if you see me wandering around, say hello. Say you saw me on here. All right. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen. If you have done, please click like and subscribe. And I'll see you again in another video very, very soon on Morgan's Miles. Be seeing you.